Welcome back to another super awesome mix. My name is Matt Sidhom, and this week I am joined by friend of the show, fellow co-host, host of What Are You Listening To, as well as my co-host on The Battle. It is Jenn Tully. Jenn, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. So glad to be back.
And I had to have you back for this week because, it's the start of summer here. And, I'm a big go to the movie theater guy. I love going to the movies. And of course, come summer, you get the summer blockbuster. So I roped you in to put together a mix of songs from summer blockbuster movies. Jenn, this couldn't have been hard for you, right?
No, it wasn't hard at all, Matt. Actually, it was hard to pick just 6. And I'm anti-AI, so I literally pulled them from the top of my head. I had to go. And then when I went back and was doing research, there were some that I'm like, oh, I can't believe I missed that one, or I didn't think of that one. But I was super excited about this one. You can also tell sort of where I live in summer blockbuster land by some of the picks. There's a very clear decade that that the summer blockbuster resonates real hard for me.
Well, but to that point, Jenn, what I started thinking about was there used to be a time where in concert with the summer blockbuster was always like the summer blockbuster song. And I don't think we have as much of that now where it's like, hey, big movie coming out, here's the big song that comes with it, right? And so I think there's been a little bit of that detachment, probably, with the fact we don't have MTV as much now. I mean, there's still music videos, but it's just not as closely associated.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also too, I landed in a certain decade because that's kind of was the launch of the summer blockbuster, right? I think that they kind of accredit it to Jaws being such a surprise summer hit come the mid 70s, right? I think that's kind of what coined the term summer blockbuster, or at least from my time in the biz, that's kind of what that was the standard, or that was the first one. And then you had, just movies that were undeniable hits after that kind of perpetuated the legend of the summer blockbuster, whether it was American Graffiti, I think actually came right before Jaws, but Star Wars, Superman, Star Trek the movie, all of those came out and really sort of laid the blueprint for the way we marketed films in the 90s and 2000s when I was doing it to the way they still do it today, even in a streaming world. Yeah.
I mean, usually some of the biggest movies that you hear about, the biggest names out there, maybe not the Oscar winners, right? But the biggest kind of box office numbers are put up in the summer. Of course, this year, it's kind of interesting because come December, we've got 2 massive films coming out with Dune 3, as well as the new Avengers movie, whatever that one's called. But, those are both coming out later in the year, and those should put up huge numbers when they come around.
I think it's called Avengers Are We Done Yet? That's what I hope it's called. Avengers, do we still have more in the tank? I think Avengers Jumping the Shark. I could keep going.
Look, I remember when Dune was one movie, okay? Right. And now we're on number 3, and I'm like, what is happening now? I thought we just remade the original, but now we just keep going. But I don't know. Yeah, there's all these universes, but yeah.
Shall we kick it off with the first song on the playlist, which was your pick this week?
Yeah, go for it.
Speaking of classics, man, this one, you snatched this one right out from under me. But I kind of thought this one might be on your list, so I steered clear. And you let me have some of my picks later on. We'll get to that, I think, when we get to the second track. But the first pick is Holiday Road by Lindsey Buckingham. Amazing.
Of course, from National Lampoon's Vacation, the vacation movie that started it all. And this is the first thing you hear when you start it, right? It's just a series of, it's a really cool montage of just postcards dropping while the opening credits run. And you hear this song, Holiday Road. I love the original Vacation. I think most people nowadays probably gravitate towards Christmas Vacation. That seems to be a staple for most people. But go back and watch the original Vacation. It is an R-rated comedy, so there's definitely some things in there that maybe, not necessarily safe for the kids, but it's still funny. I think I saw it, some of it last year, and it still cracked me up. we saw it probably way earlier than we should have in my family, but we like that just kind of became a staple for us when we did road trips. We were constantly making references to Vacation. I love this song. It just kind of rhythmically fits sort of a road trip just perfectly. And I don't know, it's great. It plays at the beginning. I think it plays maybe at the end as well. There's another Lindsey Buckingham song that he contributes to the soundtrack at the end as well. But this is, anyway, fantastic song. Couldn't have started this one any other way.
Yeah, I completely agree. If we're going to do a summer blockbuster playlist, this one has to feature prominently in it. And again, I feel like one of the things, that I was thinking about as we were putting this together is, can the song exist without the movie, or are they just, tied together forever? And although I love this song independently, because I'm a huge Fleetwood Mac fan, which means I'm a Lindsey Buckingham fan and all of the things that go with that. But, I think that these two, like the movie's great, the song is great, and together they're just magic, and I think that this song does a great job too of, capturing sort of like the chaotic, like randomness of the movie, and also of a family road trip. At least in my house, family road trips were exactly like that. Like nobody planned. Like we used to count how many times we'd have to turn around after we left to go back and get something that we forgot. I think our average was like between 3 and 5 times. Like, I mean, it was bananas. So I often like reference Clark Griswold and the Griswold family. When I'm describing sort of our family vacations when I was a kid. So yeah, I think that just the chaotic nature of it. At one point there's like a dog barking or something in the background. I mean, Lindsey Buckingham like fancied himself Brian Wilson in many ways and like was always trying to pull in crazy stuff. But this one, I think it works perfectly. Like you get all kinds of randomness in this song that echoes the theme of the movie and just ties in so well. So yes, love this song. Love this movie, and definitely say to people, if it's been a minute since you've watched the original Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo version of National Lampoon's Vacation, go back. The new one is good. I will say I love the Ed Helms, Christina Applegate.
Yeah, they did a good job with that one. I agree.
Really funny, really good. But the original is just priceless. I mean, Chevy Chase at his most Chevy Chase-ness, and it's so good.
All right, your first pick, and I know where your head was at with this one. Iconic song. We had to include this singer as well. You picked Playing with the Boys by Kenny Loggins.
Obviously. Of course I did. This is what I was referencing earlier. I'm like, I felt like you kind of gave me the Kenny Loggins, right? I'd let you have the Lindsey Buckingham.
I did. I was like, you're going to pick a Kenny Loggins song. I don't need to pick one. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, if he rolls up to this playlist with Danger Zone, I'm going to be mad. So obviously, Top Gun, 1986, the original. I refuse to acknowledge Maverick, which was basically the same stinking movie shot for shot with a new cast. I'm like, I can't with that. So we're going to stay in the real Top Gun lane from 1986. And yes, I feel like Danger Zone probably would have been the natural pick. But you know what? It's summertime. This one's for the ladies. I chose Playing with the Boys because that is the scene that I like to think of when I think of Top Gun. And for those of you that maybe don't recall it as well as I do, this is that classic volleyball scene, the beach volleyball scene between Rick Rossovich, Val Kilmer, Anthony Edwards, and Tom Cruise playing their signature characters of Slider.
Denim, shirts.
You know what I actually have for you on this? I do. The only one wearing denim, I believe, is actually Tom Cruise. I think the rest have on sweatpants, shorts, or something that a real person would play volleyball in.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, Tom Cruise does roll up in like Levi's playing volleyball. And I actually have that. That's my last note. It says, burning question, Matt, would a dude really play volleyball in jeans?
No. In fact, it would be like if I'm standing there in jeans and I like jump in here, I'd be like, "Hey, man, I'm wearing jeans. Like, I'm gonna pass out from sweat. I might as well be wearing a trash bag. Like, I might try to sweat off 30 pounds to, like for a wrestling meet. No."
Right. But you know what? It achieved its goal as a 12-year-old young lady. Let me tell you, I still remember the song. And we also too, like, again, we cannot, I don't think you can do a summer blockbuster playlist without including Kenny Loggins, right? I mean, he had a billion iconic soundtrack hits from the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
I think it kind of started with I'm All Right from Caddyshack. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Danger Zone was the other big song from Top Gun. We had the songs from Footloose, Footloose, the title track. We had I'm Free, Heaven Helps the Man, which also I love. Meet Me Halfway from Over the Top.
Thank you for not overlooking Meet Me Halfway.
Classic arm wrestling truck driving movie.
I would dare say the best arm wrestling movie ever made. I'm going to go out on a limb.
Wait, yes, I think we can safely say that. I think they determined after that movie that maybe arm wrestling franchise was not the boon they thought it might be.
Yeah, maybe not.
So we had to include a Kenny Loggins song, and there, like I said, we just rattled off a million to choose from. But this one for me is one of my favorites. I love this song. I love the scene in the movie. And I think it really encapsulates, summer blockbuster again. They're playing beach volleyball in San Diego. Like, it doesn't really get much more summer than that. Well, as we roll on, we're gonna take it a little more modern here. We're stepping out of the 80s for a second with our third track today. This is a song you picked, Matt, called "Accidentally in Love" by Counting Crows.
Yeah. So, Jen, I believe you worked for DreamWorks for a bit, right?
Right. Yes,
and of course, a monster animation hit for them, quite literally, was Shrek.
It was.
And so when it came time to make Shrek 2 in 2004, they were like, let's get a hit song to go along with this release. And so they went out to Adam Duritz of Counting Crows, and we get Accidentally in Love to accompany the romance between Shrek and Fiona, the two ogres in the movie. But yeah, I don't know. I love this. I love the Shrek movies. I think they're genuinely funny. And I think they're working on like a Shrek 5 or 6 or something that's coming out soon. So I think they're really funny movies. And I think this was probably the most notable song that maybe came out of the franchise. I don't know, at least in my mind. But kind of an obscure Counting Crows song, I don't think a lot of people know this, but it definitely came out along with the film when that came out. And thought it was worthy to include here, even though people might not know it as well.
Well, some lore around that as well is that we were all so tired of All Star by Smash Mouth.
Oh my gosh, that's what it was. Yeah, you're right.
From the first Shrek that we were
All-Star.
We're like, we cannot hear All Star one more. It's like, you guys are going to have to figure something out for Shrek 2. And I had already, by the time Shrek 2 released, I had already left DreamWorks. But as you mentioned, it was such a huge franchise. And I was there in the beginning. I've talked about this on the show before, that the original voice of Shrek was actually Chris Farley. Mm-hmm. And he passed away tragically when they were almost finished recording. So the whole movie had to be revoiced by Mike Myers. But I think second to that was the fact that we were all so tired of hearing All Star by Smash Mouth that we're like, we cannot, because there was talk, like, it was such a hit. It was so tied to Shrek. Like, do they carry it on, for the franchise in infinity? And we're like, no, please, no. We cannot hear it anymore.
I think I just blocked it out of my mind. That's why I forgot about it, right?
Yeah. God. So very happy to have Accidentally in Love. And I also think it's a great song. I love Counting Crows. It's hard to get an upbeat Counting Crows song. I think they're sort of known for kind of some of these dreary ballads.
Yes.
And so, which are great. Again, I'm big Counting Crows fan, love the August and Everything After album. But definitely this one is like the happy poppy side of Counting Crows. And so I've always loved it for that. And it's a perfect song to go with the theme of the movie. And I just love that idea too of like, accidentally, like, you're just friends, right, or you think you hate somebody, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh, wait a minute, these feelings have sort of changed. And now I'm kind of accidentally in love with you. I mean, that's happened for me before with friends or something where I thought like, oh, I can't stand this person. And then the emotion sort of like shades itself a little or just turns to the left a half degree. And you're like, oh, there's something different here. So I like that about it.
Well, speaking of relationships, okay, and maybe accidental relationships, I think that works perfectly in your next pick. It is Summer Nights by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
I mean, if I have to tell you what movie this is from, I'm not sure that I can comfortably know you in real life. But of course, this is from the 1978 classic Grease. And I chose this one, because I think it's a great song. And two, I couldn't sleep at night if I didn't include a song from Grease in this playlist. You know, this movie was my first summer blockbuster. This was the first movie I remember loving. Again, I saw it way too early. I didn't see it in the theater. I think I was only 3 when it came out. But it was definitely like one of the first movies I remember seeing. I loved the music without understanding at all what the lyrics meant.
Not a kid's movie.
Not a kid's movie. Turns out it's not a kid's movie, but we didn't know that in the 70s. We were just entertaining the kids. Like, plop them down. They're going to be good. That's what parenting looked like whenever I was a kid. And so I just, this movie was released in the summer of 1978. It became a massive box office smash. It ultimately finished the year as the highest grossing film of the year. There are so many songs you could pick from this soundtrack, but I just love this one. It's like we talked about with Accidentally in Love. Like, and I always loved the conflicting storylines. I always thought that was a really cute device that should be used more. I'm really surprised that there aren't more songs that have sort of this his and hers version of events. And so I that's something that I remember noticing even as a kid, like, hey, they're telling 2 different stories about the exact same thing, know? And so I just think that is such a cool device. And I was trying to think of like other songs that have done that and done it this well. And I really couldn't come up with one. It's hard to think of another one where they have like a his and her version, of the same storyline that echoes this. So listeners, let me know if you think of one.
Most of the time in duets you get them kind of talking to each other, the 2 voices. And I think what's totally unique about this song is that you're right, they're not talking to each other, they're just talking to 2 different groups of people. And that's where you get the different stories. But I mean, it makes for just an amazing song, because I think both sides, and I think that speaks to the appeal, because both, men and women can relate to this song, because you're hearing the story that you've heard before from your friends. And so that's where they do just a great job. But you're right. Grease is, it's amazing, unbelievable soundtrack. There's probably 5 other songs you could have picked, but we're talking summer blockbusters. So got to pick Summer Nights. And
got to,
I mean, the way John Travolta hits that high note at the end, I mean, it's just classic, right?
Classic. And I still know every word to every song in this movie. I mean, you could put the record on now and I can sing every single word to every single song. So if you haven't spent some time with Grease lately, go back and also check that out. Such a good movie, such a classic summer and high school and end of the year kind of thing. We talked about graduation a lot happening. So go back and revisit Grease. Very good. All right, we're moving it into track number 5. For this song, you chose "The Power of Love" by Huey Lewis and the News.
I think it was last summer. I made my kids sit down and watch Back to the Future, and when they found out there was a sequel, they were like, "Dad, when do we get to see the sequel?"
Yay! You're parenting right.
They loved it. And so we watched, I think, 1, 2, and 3 in a span of like 4 days or something like that. And they were just all in on like the crazy timelines and what about this? And, even had the right questions about time travel that were kind of unanswered in that movie. But it's still, Yeah, but along with that, you get this amazing song, I think, from Huey Lewis and the News that kind of can sit apart from. It's funny because he had two big songs as part of the soundtrack. One was "Back in Time," which I always joke is a song that he wrote while they sat down and had him watch the movie. Right? Like he's like, I'm just gonna sit here and just write the movie beat for beat in a 2.5-minute song. Right?
Yes.
And then they were like, Huey, go and write something that we can use otherwise, right? And that's where we get the power of love. And I love Huey Lewis and the News. I know they were a big 80s band, but they even came out with some stuff later in like the 90s and 2000s that I think is pretty strong. And yeah, this song, of course, is a real standout. So I had to include this one. I love that movie, and I was so excited last summer for my kids to love it as well.
Yeah, same. And it's funny. My daughter, who is now an adult, 18, just graduated high school. She came home from a party a couple weeks ago. Well, I guess it was like a study session that turned into a bunch of people hanging out. And as it got later in the night, they put on a movie. I think they were like out by the pool or something, and we're watching a movie. And they picked Back to the Future. And she was like, "Mom, it's so good. I forgot." She'd seen it when she was little, but yeah. I think it's one of those movies that really still holds up to. I mean, yes, the science is kooky and 1.21 gigawatts and like all of the silliness that kids are like, what is that? But it's still so intriguing and still so, I think, funny and silly, and like all of the, the fish out of water story of it all is just so cute. I think that this movie did it so well. And so, love Back to the Future. And the franchise is good, but I really like Back to the first one is really like where I feel strongly about staying. Like 2 and 3, fine, but that first one was just so good. But it did get me thinking, like you said, about Huey Lewis and the News. Like they were such a huge band of the 80s, right? Like everywhere. Like you could not turn on the radio without hearing a Huey Lewis and the News song. You could not turn on MTV without seeing one of their videos. But they're really not spoken about in like the pop culture canon the way that like Madonna or Michael Jackson or some of those people are. And I'm like, that's so weird to me because they were just as big. Huey Lewis and the News were as big as both of those aforementioned artists. And I feel like they just don't get enough credit. We don't talk about their contribution to 80s music as much.
I think it's a couple things. I think the fact that Huey Lewis, and I think he's like lost his hearing. He really can't perform anymore. And so he's not necessarily out there like doing like the casino circuit or something like that now, right? Not that those other artists are, but he's kind of less, he's not still performing. So I think that's part of it. But then I think another part of it is if you look at like a picture of Huey Lewis in the News, it just looks like a picture of me and some other dads, right?
I was going to say like a group of dads.
Yeah. So it's not like something that's going to draw you in if you're a young person. And so you may hear the song and you may be like, oh, I really love this song or any number of their songs, right? But I think the lack of maybe that visual appeal probably doesn't kind of hold the same weight as, my kids can watch videos of Michael Jackson dancing or Madonna performances now, and they don't even care about the music, right? They're just watching them perform. And so I think that's a big difference too.
That's true. Their performances were not as like the production value was not as high, but their music videos were really, like they had some really great music videos back in the day. Anyway, it was just curious. I was like, it's funny to me that this band was as big as some of those other bands we remember from the 80s, but you don't hear about Huey Lewis in the News as much as some of the others.
Well, and musically probably stronger than those other bands too, right? Like, but just you're right. Doesn't hold weight necessarily. Yeah. All right. Now this next one is from a movie I have not shown my children yet, and I'll probably wait a little bit to show
Maybe
them.
Wait a minute.
Maybe. But this is Moving in Stereo by the Cars.
Obviously from Fast Times at Ridgemont High from 1982. And, I had to choose this song for a couple of reasons. One, it's iconic. I mean, I think you cannot think about Summer Blockbuster for me without thinking about Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And when I think about Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I think about this scene. It's really one of the, it's one of those pieces of movie magic that I think will just live on forever. And I'm not exactly sure why. I was thinking about that too. I'm like, it's not like it's genius, in the way it was put together. It's just, I think the song and the imagery captured a time and a place.
Yeah.
Not even just in the decade, being the 80s, but also just in a time developmentally, as a teenager, when you're first experiencing like, ooh, he's kind of cute or she's kind of cute, or, you're trying to navigate. And some of these people you've known since you were a kid, or some of them, maybe you knew in elementary school and then you guys went to different middle schools and then you came back together for high school. Like, it just really captures a specific time in life, I think. And, this was an interesting too. Another thing I was thinking about is sort of the difference in songs that were written for films and songs that existed that were just included in movies. And so we had a pretty even split this week. I think 7 of our songs were written for a film and 5 of the tracks were songs that had already existed and then sort of regained, resurged or had a moment after being placed in a song. And this was one of those. This was a song that was out. It came out on the Cars debut album. This song was part of it, which I think was in 1978. So it came out like 4 years before the movie.
Yeah.
But I also had to include this song as homage to Cameron Crowe because he's responsible for some of the greatest movie soundtracks of modern day, in my opinion. I think there's, John Williams, who's given us all these amazing scores that we know. And then there's Cameron Crowe, who really, I think, John Hughes probably before him, and then Cameron Crowe really perfected the art of the movie soundtrack and pulling in, either pre-existing songs that he gave new life or, songs that were specifically commissioned for a film. And although Cameron Crowe did not direct Fast Times at Ridgemont High, that's an Amy Heckerling film, he did write it, and it was based on an article that he did where he literally went undercover as a high school student. And like wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High based on the characters that he saw in this American high school. And I'll do a quick plug for his memoir. It's called The Uncool. And if you've not read it, and you're even just a little bit of a Cameron Crowe fan, it's definitely worth a read. He's amazing. And he talks a little bit about his time going undercover as a high school student to write Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So the song will forever be linked to this film for me. I think it's a great song. I love the Cars. The Cars always make me think of summertime. And if you're not familiar with the movie scene and you are over the age of 18, I encourage you to go watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It really is, it encapsulates the high school experience, I think, so beautifully, and especially the high school experience in the 80s. Not that there aren't themes that carry over and are still relevant today, but it really is such a nice like slice of life film that I think does such a good job at capturing that time.
Yeah, and I think that's a movie that I will recommend to some younger people on occasion, right? Still over 18, but just younger and haven't seen this movie, because I'm just like, it's a really well-made movie, but then like I think there's enough storylines in there where there's it's one of those something for everyone type things, where it's like even if you don't love every character, there's going to be something in this movie that grabs you. And you're right. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking and I have to say in the back of my head, all I can hear is Sam's voice going, are we going to talk about all the problematic themes in this movie?
Sam, no, we're not. Okay. We're going to talk about just how it's a really well-made movie. Okay. And we're going to move on. We're going to move on. We will preface
it by saying we recognize that, yes, when you look at it 40 years later, and you got to take things in context. Time and place matters. And I stand by that. I think, thank goodness we can look at it now and see how far we've come. And it doesn't erase the fact that that was a slice of life back in the day.
Yeah. But agreed. Great soundtrack. I love the song "Somebody's Baby" by Jackson Browne.
So okay,
good. Which I think no, it doesn't start the movie off, but
it's
comes
a
at a
very
pivotal
problematic,
scene. Very problematic,
again, a very problematic scene.
Pivotal scene. Yes.
Pivotal, problematic, whatever.
All the P words. Okay.
It's a good time to watch and talk to your children about consent. How about that? That's the message we'll leave.
That is. And,
that's the message we'll leave.
And no fault of Jackson Browne there. Okay, you can still love Jackson Browne and his music.
We still love him. We still love him. All right, we're gonna transition right on out of that one into a song called "You Could Be Mine" by Guns N' Roses.
All right, when I was in high school, the biggest summer blockbuster that came out was when Terminator 2 was released. The original Terminator was like 1984, I think, thereabouts, maybe even a little earlier. And this was like 1992. And so it's like been nearly a decade since this original came out. And, at the time, directed by James Cameron, and stop me if you've heard this before, but he was using special effects that nobody had ever used before. Okay. Which he's always just continued to do throughout his career. And so this was going to be just a massive movie opening. But so then you get the biggest band at the time, or one of the biggest bands, which was Guns N' Roses. And so you get this song and you get this music video that comes out where it's got like clips from the movie, but then you've also got Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is the Terminator, right? Like coming to their show and all this stuff. And so, I mean, I don't know. It's just etched in my mind forever. When I think of summer blockbuster, I think of Terminator 2, this song. It's a really good song too, just on its own. I think it's a really cool rock song. But yeah, this was just kind of height of summer blockbuster for me when I was younger.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's I had to go back because I couldn't remember. I'm like, is this from a Terminator movie or is this from a Bond movie? Like, I knew it was one of the two, and I was confusing my Guns N' Roses because they famously covered "Live and Let Die," and so I think that's what I was thinking of, and where I was getting kind of confused. But I mean, Terminator 2: Judgment Day was pretty cool. I think the movie came out in, like you said, 91, 92, somewhere around there. But the song was from the Use Your Illusion 2 album. Before it came out in Terminator, it was on that album. So this was, again, one of those cases where the song already existed. It wasn't written specifically for the film, but paired perfectly with it. I mean, I thought that it was super well-timed, well-used song. And it's very classic Guns N' Roses sound, like if you like Guns N' Roses, definitely like you're going to be into this song. And I liked the Use Your Illusion albums 1 and 2 because I was a huge Appetite for Destruction fan, loved Appetite for Destruction. And so was really happy when the, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 came out because I felt like we were like back to some of those like power ballads, from Guns N' Roses. So love that. Love this song. And actually, when I was sort of researching this song was written back in 1987 and was supposed to be on Appetite for Destruction, but it just didn't make the final cut at that time. So I think that's another reason. Like whenever I read that, I was like, oh, that's probably why I like it so much, because it was part of that
same era.
Yeah, it was from that block that was that all those hits from Appetite for Destruction came out. But yeah, such a great song. Love that one.
All right, so let's move forward a little bit more, further in the 90s. Okay, you've got "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing" by Aerosmith.
All right, so I'm gonna preface this by saying this is from the terrible movie Armageddon from 1998. Terrible movie.
That's
great
three
song.
times. 3 times you've said terrible.
Terrible.
4 times. Okay.
Honestly, I could go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's rare that I have to like stop watching a film, especially one from the 80s, which for me is like my golden decade of movies. And recently there have been 2 that I'm like, I just can't do it anymore. One was when we were doing our biopic. We went back and forth with that. When we were doing that episode and I tried to rewatch Who's That Girl, the Madonna classic.
Oh, yeah.
Not classic. Sure. Terrible. Had to turn it off. It was so bad. Couldn't finish. And the second was Armageddon. When I tried to go back and rewatch Armageddon, I'm like, I can't watch this. It is so bad that I cannot. It's ridiculous in every way. In every way, the movie's ridiculous.
Now, Jen, I'm not defending the movie, okay? But once upon a time, there were DVD releases with extras on them, okay? And one of the extras on the Armageddon DVD is Ben Affleck talking about Armageddon. It is hilarious because he's not a fan of this movie.
Praise be.
And he makes it very clear on the DVD extras. It is awesome.
I mean, thank God he can look at it with a critical eye because he's maybe the worst in it. Like, they're all bad, but the scenes between he and Liv Tyler could not be more ridiculous. Bruce Willis at his like action hero cheesiest, and the cast is insane. Like, when you look down the cast list, you're like,
it's a crazy.
This is going to be an excellent movie.
Owen Wilson's in it. Steve Buscemi's in it. So many guys. Just for anybody out there who hasn't seen it, essentially. A meteor is hurtling towards Earth. It's going to destroy the Earth. Okay. It is decided that we're going to send the best oil drilling team in the world to the meteor to drill nuclear bombs into the meteor and blow it up so that it misses the Earth. And so rather than train astronauts on being drillers, they train drillers to be astronauts, send them into space. There's a reference to space madness at one point, which may or may not be a scientifically proven thing. I'm going to say no. And anyway, but that is the premise of this movie if you haven't seen it. And just saying it out loud, I don't understand why you think that would be a terrible movie, because it sounds pretty reasonable. It all sounds pretty reasonable.
It does sound pretty reasonable, yet it's not at all. It's so bad. And I don't know. I don't know who was, I feel like the director was just sort of like, yeah, these are all big names. Like, they got it. I'm going to go grab lunch. I'll see you guys later.
Well, it's one of those Jerry Bruckheimer films. Like, I mean, we just had a string of summers where like Jerry Bruckheimer was coming out with an action movie every year. And you were going to go, I mean, I shouldn't say you, Jen. I was going to go watch it, right? No matter what it was. And it was going to have a big song along with it. And this was just right in that wheelhouse. So, I mean, it made $1 bajillion. I'm surprised there was not an Armageddon 2.
And I was there. I mean, I was in the theater. Don't get me wrong. Like, I was there with everybody else. I just am saying, in going back and revisiting, it's terrible. The movie is terrible. But the song did amazingly well. It hit the Billboard Top 100. I think it debuted at number 1 and stayed there for like 4 weeks. And then I have to drop this fact in because I'm bragging. The song was nominated for an Oscar as Best Original Song in 1998, but it lost to one of my films. It lost to When You Believe from The Prince of Egypt. And so that was a really big win for us.
Fantastic song. Yeah.
DreamWorks actually released 3 different soundtracks for The Prince of Egypt. And so we really had pushed all 3 soundtracks hard, but we were really, really proud to beat a Disney movie, which Armageddon was. And so definitely that was a huge win for us to take the Oscar from Aerosmith and Diane Warren and secure the win with Prince of Egypt. So yes, that'll be the final tidbit I will leave you on is excellent song. If you love Aerosmith, this is definitely classic power ballad by them. Skip the movie. Just skip it. If you saw it back in the day, just rest with your positive memories of it and don't revisit. Don't bring it into the now. All right, moving away from the cheesy and the bad, we are going to go into your next pick, which is a song called The Beginning is the End is the Beginning by Smashing Pumpkins.
Actually, we're kind of staying within the cheesy and the bad, Jen, because just like you were like, Armageddon, terrible movie. This is from 1997's Batman and Robin. And Armageddon had a bloated cast. So did this movie. Let me run through it. George Clooney is now playing Batman. Chris O'Donnell as Robin, Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, and Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. Weirdly, these Batman movies that came out between the late 80s and actually the original Batman, some people think was really good with Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, right?
That's my favorite. It's the only one I acknowledge.
And then
throw that in.
The sequels, they just got progressively worse. And we kind of wound up here with Batman and Robin. So it's funny because this song, Billy Corgan talks about how much he struggled with writing a song about Batman because these movies were just getting worse and worse. They were kind of campy a little bit. They were trying to be funny. And they weren't funny. They weren't good. There was a lot of zoom ins and bad lines. It's just not good. But this song plays during the credits of the movie. Okay, so fast forward through the movie and get to the credits and just listen to the song, or just listen to the song on its own, because it's interesting. Tonally, this actually sounds more like a song that would be associated with the Christopher Nolan Batman that we would get a decade or so later. And so that's why I picked this one, because I think it's actually a really good song, and I think it fits Batman in kind of how we know it now in the more recent Batman films. But it was plunked on the soundtrack of this just absolute garbage Batman and Robin movie back in the late 90s. So wanted to call it out for being a little bit of a hidden gem.
Yeah, definitely. And I am one of those that love the original, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, Kim Basinger Batman, which Prince did the soundtrack for. Yes. Amazing. I almost included one of those songs, actually, because I loved that Prince soundtrack so much. But this was one of those tracks that you chose that I wasn't sure if we were going to be talking about Batman and Robin, or if we were going to be talking about Watchmen. Because I think it's also in Zack Snyder's Watchmen. And so that was one where I'm like, I'm going to have to wait and see where Matt pulled this one from. But I think I'm with you. I think it's a great song. And I think it is a little bit more suited maybe for some of the Christopher Nolan Batmans, which I hate. I will just go out on the record saying that.
Okay. Well, that's for a separate conversation, but okay.
I don't like any of the Batmans after Michael Keaton. None of them. None of them. None of them were Batman to me. Not George Clooney, not Ben Affleck, not Christian Bale. Yeah. None of them. None of them were Batman. So I will say I like the song. If you like Smashing Pumpkins, you'll like it too. It sounds very classic Smashing Pumpkins to me. But yeah, you can if you can't go back and watch Batman and Robin, you can go watch Watchmen. Yes. Slightly better. Slightly
better. All right. Well, let's take one more trip back to the 80s for track 10. This is Cruel Summer by Bananarama.
Yes, and this is, and we're not talking Taylor Swift here. I know people are hearing my voice and thinking, oh, we must be talking Taylor Swift. We are not. We are talking the Bananarama version of Cruel Summer from the Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid from 1984. Now, this is one that you can watch with the kids. I think that this is a movie that holds up. And I think that, this is not the main hit from the soundtrack. And I don't know, for being such a big summer blockbuster, it is weird that this movie didn't have a big song tied with it. I mean, you and I love a lot of the songs. I think The Best comes to mind.
Yeah, you're the best.
That song. That's a great song.
I'm really glad you included this one, because people don't realize that it's included in the Karate Kid. I've had to point that out to people before. I'm like, look, they're on the beach, it's kind of this, introduction to the friction in the story. And you get Cruel Summer playing in the background. So I love that you called this out.
Well, yeah, and the plot of the film is so, you just alluded to it, is so perfectly suited. I almost can't think of a more cruel summer than being uprooted your, summer before your junior year in high school and moved all the way across the country, complete culture shock. He comes from New Jersey to Southern California, could not be more different. He kind of doesn't fit in. These kids have a lot of money. He doesn't. I think it really hits on all of the things that could ruin your summer. Yeah. And sets it up beautifully for, the triumphant finale that we get at the end of the movie.
But spoiler alert. Yeah.
For those of you that have been sleeping on the Karate Kid all these years, It ends well. I'll just say that. It ends well. It ends well for Daniel LaRusso.
Hey, Jen, I just want to point out, we talked about Fast Times being a little problematic, okay? I feel like we should give the Karate Kid for being a little more progressive because remember when Daniel-san is in his giant yellow Studebaker, whatever that car was, he lets Andy, with an I, drive. And she says, "You want me to drive?" And Daniel says, "Hey, it's the 80s. And it's like, all right, Daniel. Okay, so if we're going to call out an 80s movie for being problematic, how about the Karate Kid for being a little progressive, right?
For sure. I mean, maybe it condones violence and fighting amongst children, but whatever. We're going to
also overlook the fact that Ralph Macchio was like 25 and Elizabeth Shue was 16. It doesn't, like that, that's not as important.
We're not talking about that. We're not talking about those parts.
Let's just focus on the positive.
Bullying wasn't really a thing then. And, not the way it is now. So, yes, we promote practicing kindness. So watch these movies and marvel at how far we've come. That's all we can say. Oh Lordy! All right, we're rounding it out. We're like headed towards the home stretch here. And our second to last track on this week's playlist is a song called "Hooked on a Feeling" by Blue Swede.
Okay, now some people may have learned the song from the Quentin Tarantino film Reservoir Dogs. Okay, but I included it on this mix from the summer blockbuster Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, so. Shout out to all the Marvel films. We didn't, it's funny, for as many movies as they've churned out, they've never been like, hey, here's a great soundtrack. However, the Guardians of the Galaxy films, thanks to Star-Lord, aka Peter Quill, he kind of, each movie has what's called, I believe he calls it a super awesome mix. So, I mean, we've got to give him some credit there for a great title.
Yep.
But this is kind of part of one of his super awesome mixes, and I think is included in kind of an action scene in the movie. So I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and I think a lot of what drives that love is the music in it, and I think it makes those movies so much more fun and cooler than some of the other Marvel movies. But yeah, and this is just a really fun song, definitely written well before the movie came out. This was not at all written for any sort of movie soundtrack, but I love that it's been included on multiple ones.
Yeah, I love, and I'm same as you. Like, I love Guardians of the Galaxy for reviving the mixtape. I think that it almost single-handedly put that phrase back into the vernacular for kids, especially. That he had, and every movie has kind of followed along with the evolution of his mixtape, which started as a gift from his mother before she passed away.
Yes.
So I love that piece of it as well. But this is the song I referenced in the beginning, where I went through the whole, like, all of my notes and gathering, thinking that you were going to reference Reservoir Dogs. And then when I went in and researched, I'm like, oh, wait, this is from Guardians of the Galaxy. Because I think when I think of Guardians of the Galaxy, I think it's from the first movie, where I believe it's Come and Get Your Love that opens the movie, where he's dancing around, and so I always think of that one being affiliated with Guardians of the Galaxy. And so then when I realized this was also, I'm like, oh, I bet this is Guardians of the Galaxy reference, not a Reservoir Dogs reference. But both good films. Reservoir Dogs, don't watch with the kids. Guardians of the Galaxy, you can.
Yes.
Don't, though.
I like the little movie guide that we've kind of brought along with this mix. We're like, no, you can watch this. No, you can't watch that. Yeah.
Well, pretty much if you and I are talking about a movie, it's probably problematic.
Yeah.
Not good for the kids.
Probably not. Yeah. We're probably making some apologies for sure.
I feel like Sam's a much more reliable narrator in that space than you and I, but for the adults,
yeah,
for the adults out there, we're safe. We're you and I are good.
All right. Well, let's bring this home. Track 12. This is Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin.
And you know what? I kept us right here in the Marvel universe for this one. This is my favorite Marvel movie. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, so it's hard for me to pick. But when I think of the very best, the Marvel movie I could watch over and over again. It's Thor Ragnarok from 2017. I think that they nailed it with this movie. I think the casting is superb. I think that the storyline in this one is great. It doesn't lean as much into the humor as Guardians of the Galaxy does, but there's enough that it still feels funny.
Yeah.
But you get these great action sequences as well that I think are fantastic. I love the mythology around, the Thor franchise. And so this one is just amazing. And I can remember from when I very first saw the trailer, when they first released the trailer and this song was featured, it just blew my mind. Led Zeppelin is notorious for not licensing their music out. And so when you get a Led Zeppelin song in something like this, I think it's just magical. And this movie nails it. If you don't even watch all of Thor Ragnarok, and you should, if you just fast forward to the scene in the movie when this song comes on, it's undeniable. I mean, I can't think of any other song that could go there. And the story goes that that's actually how they got Led Zeppelin to agree to let them use the song. Is they sent them the trailer with the song in it, and Zeppelin was like, okay, you can do it. And also, like, the deep pockets of Disney, I believe they paid almost $5 million to use the song in the movie, and then they paid additional to use it in the trailer. So this was, and that's sort of Led Zeppelin's deal. Like, they don't negotiate. They just say, like, if you want to use the song, it's much money, X, and you either have it or you don't, and Disney happened to have an extra $5 million laying around.
Well, thank God they did, because I'm with you. It's like when I saw this on your list, I was like, yes, because I immediately had that scene in my head. I will go and, like, on YouTube, you can just watch the clip of just this scene, right? Yeah. And it's like, the exchange between Anthony Hopkins, who plays Odin, and then Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, and then him just diving in after that and entering the battle. I mean, it is awesome. I mean, I could just watch that over and over again, and this provides the perfect soundtrack to it. So no, I mean, couldn't go out on a higher note, I don't think.
Right?
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Look this one up, like, turn on the Sonos speakers, like, go to town. It's magic. Movie magic. This is what the Summer Blockbuster is all about. Right there.
Well, Jenn, thank you so much for coming on the show and teeing off everybody's summer with a mix of summer blockbuster music. I know listeners out there are saying, what about this? What about that? So hit us up at Super Awesome Mix on Instagram and Threads and YouTube. Let us know what we may have missed out on. Okay. And we're trying to do our best here, but I think we put together a pretty good mix overall. Okay. So check out Jenn's show, What Are You Listening To? I think it's about to go on a summer hiatus here, right?
Yep. We'll be back in late September with new episodes.
Yeah, but go and subscribe, catch up on anything you might have missed there. Of course, like and share this show. Give us a 5-star review. We love having that. Jenn and I are also cooking up a new season of The Battle to come out this fall, so get ready for that. In the meantime, we've got plenty of mixes to work on. So for Jenn, this is Matt, and we'll see you next time.